when they needed something particularly vile, they would write this guy in like Northern England, and he would write back with some horrendous, some just like Baroque profanity that they would then incorporate into the film. So there were specialists on the job. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes.
What's your favorite profanity in the movie?
I don't even know if it's a. I always like it when he says "fuckity bye" at the beginning. My favorite like slew of things though is that at the very end when he goes, "I will marshal all the forces of media darkness to hound you to an assisted suicide." That always really makes me laugh. And the way he says it too, there's like a weird glottal thing where he's like "hound," like it sounds like so scary to me. That guy, incidentally, is like the most gentle and quiet and like kind of like shy, like during rehearsals, like he had like this camera and he would like take photos and talk about his daughter, and it was just like he's like the sweetest guy. And then they turn on the camera and he'd talk about putting people in sewage tanks and pumping them full of shit. So weird, yeah.
Yeah, on the topic of that guy, it seems like he must have improvised at least some of those results. Did they cast him because of his ability to curse people out, or?
You wanted to know if they cast Malcolm due in part to his ability to curse people out, to improvise profanity. I think partly like he's an immensely talented actor in my opinion, and also like an incredibly imaginative guy. He's actually also a director and a writer. He won an Oscar for a short film that he directed like years and years ago, and now he's still doing a lot of directing and stuff. So I think he's comfortable with like all aspects of it, and certainly like improvising. I wasn't in very many scenes with him, so I'm not sure how much of his stuff is improvised. I think because he did the television show, he was pretty comfortable in that character's skin, though. I think he could, tap into that horrible, maliciousness fairly easily. Yeah.
Do they curse like that on British TV?
You want to know if there's that much cursing on British television? I don't know. I wish I did. I didn't watch that much of it because I was so terrified when I was shooting. I just went to bed at like 8 every night because I didn't want to be tired. Yeah, that's pathetic. Any other questions? Oh yeah.
The thick of it was on BBC, which I was just interested just to find out if you heard Armando saying anything about why the BBC pressured for it to actually be closed, because it was slightly critical of the government.
The question, I believe, was if Armando had discussed
with you
that
the thick of it was actually stopped.
That the thick of it was stopped because it was critical of the government?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. He never said anything to that effect to me, which certainly doesn't mean that it's not. It doesn't mean that it isn't true. But he never told me anything about that. That's startling. But I know the guy, Alistair Campbell, who is like sort of was Tony Blair's bulldog or whatever, who's sort of like I guess sort of the loose analog to Karl Rove or something. He saw the film, and that Malcolm is basically based on this guy Alistair Campbell. And he said he didn't like it, and he said he thought it was very boring, and that it was unrealistic. And Armando says that the things that he cited in the interview that were the things that could never possibly happen were the things that they had researched and that actually had happened. It was like all of the very specific stuff. So yeah. But then his wife, apparently Alistair Campbell's wife, approached Armando at some party or something. It was like he loved it. He just had to say that for the spin. That's true. Yeah. Anybody else?
What was the idea of having that young kid?
What was the idea about having the young kid in the? You're worried about the innocence of the cast, and you've got virtue.
He looks like he never shaved.
Well, yeah, that I know as a fact to be. He came in with a big beard. Yeah, he was. No, he was actually like in his late 20s. I know he's got a baby face, but.
Yeah.
But
maybe he'll be in the cabinet soon.
Yeah, could be if he's lucky. Yeah. Do you have a question? Yeah.
Yeah. You said the original script was 250 pages.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Was this an original story for film, or was this a condensed version of one of the series?
The question was whether or not this was an original story for film or a condensed version from the series. It was original. I think they were doing. I forget what the timeline is exactly, but they were doing the thick of it, and then I think with Iraq and everything, Armando felt like it would be sort of adaptable. So yeah, this was not based on a particular episode